Welcome to Rise&Mine. We're going to get started. If you're a brand new beginner and you haven't been involved with process mining, this is a great video to get started. Let's go. Today, we're going to go over what process mining is at a beginner level, understanding how to get your data in and what it's going to reveal for us. It's going to show us our actual process and what's happening, not just assumptions. I think I get this. This is what usually happens. No, this is detailed, documented information from logs of core systems like Salesforce, your Workday, ServiceNow, even from your machines or cash registers. Let's get this thing working and show you how easy it is to bring in your data. So the first thing we're going to do is take a look at the Gilligan log. Gilligan and his folks have been making sandwiches on the island. We want to understand what a case is. A case in this context is an order for a sandwich. You start with the bread and then add things to your sandwiches. Depending on what you add, you have a different type of sandwich. As we go through this, we'll start looking at a single case, a single order. They gather the bread, put toppings on, put the meat on, wrap it, toast it, and then check out and pay for it. Very simple standard process with different people doing different activities. We have to identify their case, their order, our different activities, and when it starts and ends. Sometimes you can only figure out the start time. That's fine. We can then determine which one is the end time before it starts that second. All right. In the free version, we're going to start here. What we're going to do now is start importing our data. So to do that, we're going to create a blank table. We're going to highlight everything that we have in our log file. Hit Control-C, copy. Highlight column 1. We're identifying that we're going to use our first row as headers. Control-V, pop it in here. And we're going to validate as we go through here that this is Gilligan, that the data came in correctly. One of the things that Excel doesn't do well are dates and times. Subtracting dates and times. Process mining does a really good job of understanding our start, date, time. When we hit next, everything came in, which is what we want to look for. We want to make sure that it did come in correctly. Now we have to identify our cases. So that's our case ID, our activities. We're going to specify the next column is asking us which column is going to be what and how should it look at it. Yes, it's the activity. Resources, we have identified as a resource. And our start time. The three things we actually need are just case ID, activity, and start. Then finally, we could also specify our end time. You can see it's bringing it in date and time. This is going to now run. Depending on how much data you have, I want you to understand that process is not an org chart. It doesn't go from marketing to here to there. This is real flow. We're going to look at the science behind this. We're going to start to understand how the actual movement of work starts to show constraints. We're going to look and understand from an average time perspective, what is really the average and how much of it falls under the average. Basically, how our data is skewed. So process mining is really looking, it's an x-ray of your business. It reveals where you're having pain, what's bringing in that pain, where's the variation, and it turns it into an opportunity. We're going to map the actual flow of the events, which is all of the different sandwiches. We're going to see where we've made mistakes along the way. All right, it's done. We now can actually add a filter for a time frame. Maybe we only want to see last week, last 7 days. We can also filter out or just take a look at different variants. So let's look at that right now. We could actually say, look, we just want certain resources. What did Gilligan do last week? And we can filter on what he was working on. So it does create the ability to hone in and look at a certain part of your process, which is terrific. The three things that it's able to do, and we're going to change our view here and come back to this. One of the things it's able to easily do is count in our log file, how many do we have coming through this entire process? So we're able to see that we had 108, all 108 finished, but 123 gathered bread because we had a lot of rework. So we can actually see the type of rework. We can see by the color coding and thickness where it took the longest to occur. This is total duration. We can move it to a mean duration. Again, looking from an average perspective, as a data scientist, we don't like averages too much. We want to understand what 90% of our stuff is doing. We can look at the frequency of variant 1 and see how long variant 1 took. It took 3 days. It's like making a sandwich in 3 days. But we have different types of sandwiches coming through here. Our variance is 6 different types of sandwiches, 7 different types of activities. One activity is just grabbing toppings. Another activity is just grabbing meats. Together, we have 108 cases, but 123 for the rework. So which ones had the rework? We had 15 for gathering bread. So that's where we want to understand which type of sandwich caused us to gather the bread a second time where it was done incorrectly. If we look at our process overview, we can start looking at where our process started and where they rework cases, 14%. And it's great to be able to look at this and say, hey, look, I can now compare this week to last week and start to understand what's going on with my process. I have activities that are here, but I can also do our median case duration. How long is it taking us to get a sandwich done? And how much of it's being reworked? Right away, we can see what's going on with our numbers and where we need to focus. With the variant DNA, it's going to show us gather bread, gather toppings, gather meat, all of our different combinations of sandwiches that we have. Each one requires different activities. Think about it that way, and it'll really help you understand how to format the data to fit this. Download the Process Mining app. We'll go over that in a sec. When you download the Process Mining app, this is what you're going to see. We can take a look at what we've already loaded. We can make changes to it, continue to make filters, drill down, get really detailed, put some metrics in here. Excellent way to do it. Since we've already loaded in our Gilligan Island sandwich, we can now take a look at it and do an animation. You can see as the sandwiches for different orders and what's being put on it. You can run through it. You can see in the different steps where it goes back and forth. One of the things we can also do is actually start looking at the stats behind everything. So we do have a case overview. We can see different activities as well and what's happening along the way. Another one from root cause analysis. Look at that spread. It's as short as 30 minutes and as long as, oh my God, a long time. So that's a huge case duration. We do want to understand which type of sandwiches are making it really long, which type of mistakes are really pushing it. And that's where we can start looking at our variants, the ones that are really long along the way. So we can actually start seeing where things are happening and what's being used. Also our resources as well. We can do the statistics here and start looking at our case influence. That's actually exactly what we want to do. So where the different activity time or rework count, definitely going to be a big one there. But we can start playing with that with analysis with root cause. And we can do the variance, process simulation. This is where we can say, hey, look, let's make a change to this process and then run it. And what does that do? We already have the data. We can see it. So before actually making the change, you can show them what that change is going to do to your process. It's a very powerful tool. We got a lot to show you in this